So we're not good, man. You had one job.
No sneeze.
Good?
Yeah.
What happened? No what?
No sneezing.
Action.
Oh, that's fine. We can just action. Okay. Take 16.
You should have a little, one of those things, a movie thing. Take.
All right, let's just go for it. Hello, everybody. Gustavo here with Key Property Group. As you already know, I'm walking everyone through the process of me actually purchasing my property. I already have the first video, which is kind of like an introduction as to what I'm doing. The second video, I show you a couple of houses. But today, I kind of want to talk to Josh Garcia here from Alterra Home Loans regarding my pre-approval. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use actual numbers for my tax returns and stuff like that so that you can see exactly what it took to get me to that pre-approval amount. Because maybe you don't think you qualify yourself, but maybe you do. So yeah, hi Josh. Thanks for joining me, man. How are you?
Gustavo. Thank you very much for having me.
So
I appreciate the opportunity.
Take a second and just introduce yourself, who you work for,
Sure.
and stuff like that.
My name is Josh Garcia. I work for Alterra Home Loans. We are located in Milford, Connecticut. We are a direct lender, which means that we're not a middleman or a broker. We lend our own money, and we have a ton of programs to help as many people as we can achieve the dream of homeownership.
All right, awesome. I mean, the most common program you would say is FHA, right?
FHA is your norm for a first-time home buyer, although we have other options as well.
Which is the program that I'm using, by the way, FHA. Can you talk to just real quick about FHA
Sure.
and what exactly it is?
FHA is a government-insured loan. Stands for Federal Housing Administration, or HUD, as others may know it. And FHA insures first-time homebuyer loans, where they allow you to finance up to 96.5% of the sales price, and the customer can contribute as little as 3.5%.
Which is, so it's a great
It's a great program. There's a lot of flexibility. It is, in my opinion, the most lenient program out there for first-time homebuyers in terms of credit, income, assets, when compared to a conventional financing.
All right, so just to the bullet point ideas that I caught from that. So like the most important thing, I guess, is that it allows you to use more of your income.
Correct.
Towards your pre-approval, right?
Correct.
It also is typically a lower interest rate than a conventional loan.
It is correct. That is correct. No.
And the last thing was that there was one more thing I wanted to say about FHA. All right, we'll skip over. I'll just cut this part.
It's lenient in the sense that the income to debt ratio, it's a little bit, we can stretch it a little bit more than a conventional loan.
All right, great. All right.
So
and it typically requires a lower credit score. Is that true, or?
Yeah, with an FHA loan, you can go as low as 580 credit score,
Okay,
with just 3.5% down, whereas on a conventional loan, you need a minimum of 620 on a 3% or 5% down deal.
All right, so let's say that someone is ready to go, someone wants to actually purchase a house, and they want to get pre-approved, because that is the very first step, which is what I did on my first video. What exactly do they need to hand into you in order to get that pre-approval document in their hands?
Very good question. The first thing that I look for is obviously stability in income and credit. So we want to run credit and see what shows up on the credit report, what the credit scores look like. And I always want to make sure that what's being reported on the credit report is accurate, because a lot of times, there's inconsistencies on credit.
People don't check the credit scores often
They
as
don't.
should.
They don't. And there is a misconception that what Credit Karma reports is accurate, and I see it time and time again that is not the case.
Right.
So don't let Credit Karma fool you.
Also, a lot of people don't know that once a year you actually have access to your credit score for free, and it doesn't impact your credit, correct?
That's technically what it is. Yes.
All right, so people should use that to their advantage, just to make sure there's no issues and stuff like that. Purchasing a home is just such a big and expensive purchase, such a big thing, that you want to make sure that you go in ready. You don't want to start getting ready, when you're ready to go.
Right.
You should always plan ahead. Call you and really talk about what can they do to really get prepared for it.
The key is getting educated and know exactly where you're at, because you don't want to look at properties that are beyond your means.
And I will not show you properties without a pre-approval.
Exactly.
I want that on the video.
You want something that that it's attainable, and that it's within the budget that's already been designated for you.
All right, so let's say they're ready to go. What documents would you request at first?
We want to see last 2 years employment income information. So for somebody that is a salaried employee, the last 4 pay stubs if they get paid weekly. If you're bi-weekly, the last 2, or bi-monthly will be the last 2. Last 2 years W-2s from all jobs held. Tax returns for the last 2 years if you're self-employed or you have any other type of income that's not regular wages.
All right, and that can just get them started.
Because credit, obviously, your debts will show up on your credit report.
Yep.
Assets there's various ways to document assets for down payment and closing costs. So I put my main focus on income and credit.
Okay. So, all right. So, in my case specifically, right? Can we talk about my numbers, my tax returns? You have my permission to speak like freely about my numbers.
Sure.
I want to use real numbers so that people can really figure out, how I got to that pre-approval. So, yes, you can speak freely about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Gustavo, for giving me permission to use your information. So, as a self-employed person, in your line of business, you are required to file taxes as a self-employed individual, a taxpayer, which requires you to complete what's called a Schedule C. Schedule C, or a profit profit or loss from your business. And there you report your gross sales, which would be all your commissions that you earn throughout the year. And then the government allows you to deduct any expenses that you have. Business associated expenses, correct. Okay. Such as,
mileage.
Car, mileage, any.
This microphone?
If you use it for business, yes.
This is business, guys.
Any expenses that
you see this IRS?
Any expenses that you have with the lead generation, education, seminars, anything like that, the government allows you to deduct that as part of doing business.
Okay.
So once you accumulate all of your expenses and you deduct them from your gross sales, you're going to come with a final number, which is either going to be a profit, a net profit, or a net loss, because that's the amount of money that you're going to pay taxes to the government. As a self-employed person, we want to compare from year to year to make sure that the income that you're generating is stable enough.
Makes sense.
Okay? So in your case, I took your 2017 net profit.
Okay.
Which amounted to $44,663.
That's after deducting all the business expenses.
Correct. After all your expenses. Correct.
I do want to keep it a little bit simple though, just because we're already 10 minutes in, by the way. We haven't even started yet. So pretty much then my income for 2017, we got.
Let's fast forward to that.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and that's all right. I like that, but I feel like a lot of people may not understand what you mean by all those things. So let's just keep it simple. Business expenses, mine is my actual income, and that's what you're using as a to determine a pre-approval.
Right. The key thing on a self-employed person is your net income.
Yes.
Because that's what you're paying taxes on.
Right.
So that's what the government is going to bill you for taxes. So
because that's how much the government sees that you make.
Correct.
Because technically you made X amount of dollars, but you have so many expenses that they can't use it as your income because technically it's being spent somewhere else.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
So for self-employed, you saed it's the average of the past 2 years.
Of the past 2 years. And we want to make sure that both years are consistent.
Right.
So, you want to see a trend where the current year is higher than the previous year. You don't want to see it the opposite way, because if there's a decline in income, that could become an issue. It's a red flag.
At one point, you may not be able to afford the property you're purchasing today.
Correct.
So I have $44,663, right, for 2017. And what did I get for 2018?
And for 2018, we closed more loans, which gave you $53,354 in net income. So the two figures are added together, and we calculate a 24-month average. So to us, looking at your income, the picture of your income will give us a 24-month average at $3,802.66.
Okay.
Which is your qualified income from your commission sales.
Okay, so that's the number that you're using when coming up with the pre-approval then.
That, in addition to any rental income that you're going to be generating from the property that you're going to be purchasing, because you made it very clear that you want to buy a multifamily.
Right. So this is going to be a 3-family house, so therefore you can use 2 rental incomes.
Correct.
Towards my pre-approval.
Then the norm is it's assumed that the purchaser is going to occupy the most expensive unit, but in a situation like yourself, where you're looking for a 3, and most likely the three units are going to be uniform in terms of rental income, we would just use two of the highest.
Is that because I'm all alone and you know that I'll get this? Okay.
That is correct.
All right. Well,
so at least you don't have 5 kids, so you need a big apartment. It's just yourself. So on the rental income, we'll use 75%.
Okay.
Of both projected rental incomes. And now, how do we determine the rental income? When the appraiser goes out to inspect the property, he is going to give us an estimate as to what that property can generate in income.
What if the property is already rented? Will they just use the income coming in already?
It will be actual rents, correct.
Okay. Even if it's not realistic, what if that rent is too low?
If it's actual rents and there's a lease, we have to go by that.
Understood.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So that's how you come up with the. So as of right now, then, and I'll put up the numbers wherever I have space here on the video so people can really see. So as of right now, then, my income on a monthly basis was averaged out to $3,800. Just to use round numbers.
That's just your net income, correct?
Right.
Just your
on top of that, we're going to add two rental incomes, so 75%. Let's use $1,200.
Right. So I use $2,400 in two rents.
Perfect. Yeah.
Times 75%. I'm sorry, I used $2,800.
Okay.
On that nice property that you were
Sure.
looking at. And $2,800 times 75% will give us an additional $2,100 that's added to your monthly income of $3,802.
So according to the bank, I'm making $5,902. Okay.
A month. Correct.
All right. So that's what you're basing my pre-approval on.
That is correct.
All right. So with that being said, then let's talk about how much you're using for taxes on this pre-approval.
Taxes can vary depending on town to, the town that you select. I always try to be ultra conservative with taxes because you never know,
Conservative meaning that you use a low number?
I always use a higher number.
Oh, okay.
I don't. I don't.
Well, yeah, because if it's lower, perfect.
If it's low, it's better for you because obviously the monthly payment is
qualify.
going to be much lower and you'll qualify for more. Correct. But I'm using, in this case, we use $7,000 a year for real estate taxes.
Okay, which is actually very close to what this house is.
Okay, cool.
$7,050, I think. So that's
Okay.
very close.
And then for homeowners insurance, I use $2,400 or $200 a month.
Okay. All right. So that seems pretty
Correct.
pretty accurate then. All right. So that's how we got to my pre-approval then. Now, what can people? Is there anything that people can do throughout this process to ruin that pre-approval in the point that maybe they do not qualify, or maybe they left something out, or maybe they did something throughout the application process, or anything like that makes them no longer qualify for the loan, right? What are things that people do?
They apply for new credit. So,
that is so dumb.
So the original credit, or the amount of debt that I had originally changed it because the customer has now acquired additional debt.
Okay.
And those are going to show up when a credit inquiry appears on your credit report.
Okay.
Just so you know, when you're in the mortgage process, you're a kind of an alert system. So if anybody checks your credit, the lender is notified. So you're going to be asked if a new credit check appears, why was your credit access, and if any new debt was obtained.
So there's something that I did then. I did it for just for educational purposes only. It's not because I wanted the new iPhone or anything like that. So
I'm retrieving my pre-approval.
Well, I'm doing it because I want people to. I didn't do it because of that, honestly. I do it for the iPhone, by the way. Yes.
Good for you.
I'm sorry. I like the phone, but I did apply for a new line of credit right after you pre-approved me.
Okay.
I did get an Apple credit card.
Okay.
All right. I don't know if it showed up on your from your end or not.
It hasn't yet.
Okay. So, all right. So what can
would happen? Sure. So if we have to repull your credit,
Yes.
between now and the time that you're under contract, that debt is going to show up.
Okay.
So depending what you've used and what you were approved
Well,
for.
I bought the phone.
Okay. So depending what your monthly payment is on the phone would have to be added to your monthly debt. Okay. Now, lucky for you, we have a little bit of room because you don't have a lot of debt right now. So, let's say the phone is going to cost you $100 a month. That's not going to in any way affect your numbers.
Oh, so let's talk about debts real quick, though.
Yeah.
Because you're saying you don't have a lot of debt right now, right?
Yeah, income to debt ratios. I don't know if many of you have heard it, but it's what we kind of use to evaluate a buyer. The income to debt ratios vary from program to program. Normally on a regular FHA loan, the standard is about 30 over 43. Our company follows Fannie Mae's DU findings. So if Fannie Mae allows up to a 57% income to debt ratio and we get an electronic approval up to a 57% ratio, we're good with that. That's what we're going to follow.
Yeah, so that probably doesn't mean much to a lot of people. So the 56%, that whole back ratio, whatever you said before, I think that's too confusing for us to explain here. Let's talk about the 56% though, because that is something easy to grasp and something that people can use as a reference as well.
Yeah.
So what does the 56% ratio
So what that
mean?
means is 56% of your gross monthly income. So in your case, we're looking at $5,902 as total income.
Okay.
You're capped at 57% max income to debt ratio. So if you multiply your gross monthly income times...
Can we do it just so,
Sure.
so that people can follow us?
Sure.
So we have 59...
02.66.
02.66, and if we multiply that times
57%.
we have a total of 3364.
Okay, so that would be the total amount that the mortgage payment on the home that you're purchasing, plus all your other debt, car payments, credit cards, student loans,
Personal loans?
child support.
I don't think I have that yet.
But yeah, that compiled cannot exceed that number.
All right, so let's run these numbers then. So we got 3364, right? From that, I have a car payment of $205.
Correct.
All right, and then I don't have any credit card that really to really.
It showed up minimal, so
Right. So let's just add $100 for credit card. Is that okay?
That's all right.
But there's one more thing that I didn't talk to you about before.
Uh-oh.
And that's taxes. All right. So like you said, I'm self-employed. I have to pay taxes at the end of the year, typically quarterly, but I wait until last minute because that's just who I am. And so I do have a tax bill.
Okay.
And I know
a federal tax bill for your tax returns.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, states are paid. So how does that work with FHA?
Okay, so the norm would be if your tax returns show that you owe taxes, that we get proof that you paid them. Because because obviously we don't want to show a situation where you're behind on your taxes and now the IRS comes after you and puts a lien on the property that you're going to purchase. So we would ask for evidence that either you pay them or that you're on a payment plan.
Okay.
If you're on a payment plan, then we're going to want to see what documentation you can provide as proof that the IRS approved the payment plan and what that monthly amount is.
Is an automatic withdrawal from the IRS proof enough?
Not really, no. We need an actual schedule of the agreement made with the IRS on the back tax. So let's say, for example, you have a $5,000.
Well, let's just use, once again, I just want to use real numbers. Is that okay? So right now I think I have a $7,500 probably.
Okay.
And I get $500 every month taken out towards that bill. So how does that work? Would you use those $500 as a liability as well and add it on and subtract
that is
it
correct.
from this number?
That is correct. $500 will be have to add it to your car payment, your credit cards, as part of your total liabilities per month.
So that brings me down to $2,559.
Okay.
The monthly payment on this house was estimated to be $2,600. What does that mean for me?
It means that if we, I when I did your numbers, your housing expense was right at $2,500.
That was with that initial offer that I had
That's what was
placed,
that
correct?
initial offer.
Correct.
Correct. So if we're off by $100 because now there's additional debt,
I'll just pay off my credit cards.
You can either pay off your credit cards, or we have still have room on your income to debt ratio.
Okay.
Because according to my numbers, you're still at an income to debt ratio of 42% on your mortgage payment and 49% on your total debt. So what that means is, when we compare what your monthly payment is going to be on this property divided into your monthly income, you're right now at 42%.
Okay.
When we add your additional debt, you're at 49. We said before that our max is 56, 57. So by adding the payment on your taxes, you're still within those limits. Correct.
So yeah, I knew that was going to happen, by the way. That's why I did all this.
It's curveball.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I had no idea, actually. I was sweating all morning. I was like, shit, I put this offer in. I don't even know if I can buy it.
Yeah.
But all right, so that's good then. So luckily, I'm still good. So I did put up a little thing on Facebook and Instagram yesterday about people asking questions. Do you mind if we do just a very quick Q&A?
Sure.
Actually, let's start off with a friend of mine. So she purchased a house. She actually worked with you a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And so she wants to know, she purchased a 2-family house using FHA. She wants to know, what does she need to qualify for a second loan? And will her rental income on the first home be considered for the loan qualification?
It all depends. If she's going to buy a second home to now move out of that rental property or that multifamily property into a single family, she can purchase another home using conventional financing, because you're not allowed to use FHA or to have 2 FHA mortgages.
Okay. So what kind of down payment would you need if it is a single family house and you use a conventional for your second house? Okay. What kind of down payment would you need for that?
The minimum will be 5%, because at this point she's not a first-time home buyer. If she was a first-time home buyer, it would be 3%, but because she's a repeat buyer, it'll be 5%.
And what about if it's a 2-family house or 3?
Well, if it's a 3-family house or a multifamily, she already owns a multifamily, so we would have to analyze her situation. If she's looking to purchase it for investment purposes, then the down payment requirement is 25% on a multifamily.
What if she lives there? What if she lived in that second house? What if she moved from the first one and moved into the second one?
There would have to be extenuating circumstances that we have to build a case. So in other words, let's say the house that she bought 2 years ago is smaller, and now that property does not meet her family needs. She needs a bigger home, or it's not in the best area and her family situation has changed and she's looking for a larger home. Job transfer.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, exceptions can be made.
All right, so we can elaborate on that by speaking to her and stuff like that. No problem.
Call me.
Do you do VA?
Absolutely.
Good. That was a quick one.
100% financing on a VA.
100% financing. Now let's talk about. I know we kind of touched base a little bit about this, but let's talk about credit score and income. All right. I know it's kind of a loaded question, but real quick, for your most typical, let's just stick with FHA because I think what is most people are going to be using. So let's talk about minimum credit score required, which I think you said was a 580, but you can elaborate on that if you want. And let's talk about income. So most likely, let's talk about single family house. If they meant two family, once again, we can elaborate on at a later time, but let's do that.
Credit score is key when you're purchasing a home because the better your credit score, the better the terms that you can negotiate on your loan. I've seen as low as 500. I've seen as high as 840. So the higher the score, the better.
What was my credit score actually for this loan? Because we didn't talk about that. I want people to know.
Your three scores were 685, 667, and 663.
Oh, man, and we didn't talk about my bankruptcy.
Oh boy!
Oh, that was
you really
so
want to talk about that?
Of course,
okay.
That was so important.
So 667 is the middle score, which we consider the indicator score. So we try to stay in the middle. For an FHA loan, the minimum for a low down payment loan is 580.
Okay.
You can go as low as 550, but you will need 10% down, and the 10% has to be your own money. Obviously, the lower the score, the higher the interest rate you're going to pay. So I would say try to improve your scores as much as you can so you can get the best deal possible.
So as far as my bankruptcy, and I can actually, maybe I'll edit this and put it back or just leave it. It doesn't really matter too much. But so I had a bankruptcy done 2 years ago. And can you kind of elaborate on whether or not why I qualified at this point or how, whatever.
Yeah.
Just
there's waiting periods for any life situations such as bankruptcies, foreclosures, short sales. So FHA allows you to buy a home after 2 years of your release date from your bankruptcy. Not when you filed with the court, but when the actual date that the court approved and released or discharged your bankruptcy. And your specific bankruptcy was discharged in September 2017.
Yeah, I didn't waste any time. As soon as I could do it, I started looking.
So the key thing is, while you're in that waiting period, work hard to rebuild your credit. Because someone that has had a bankruptcy and now wants to buy a home, we're going to want to see that credit is not an issue any longer.
Right. I think I got a secure credit card within like 2 months of that because like you said, I wanted to start building up my credit again.
And you see it very, very often on people that have filed credit bankruptcy after their discharge. The offers or credits start coming in, so take advantage of that. They may not be the best terms, but at least it allows you to build credit until
Just
you're
pay
there.
Credit card on time.
Exactly.
Then you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
That's what got you in trouble the first time.
Exactly.
But I wanted to clear that out because a lot of people may not know that you can purchase a house after doing bankruptcy. A lot of people probably think that you have to wait 7 years. And once again, now we're talking about programs and stuff like that, and I kind of wanted to keep it just to my stuff. But let's talk about tax ID loans because that is something that I see people always ask me a lot about that. So can you just give me just a quick bullet point?
Yeah, tax ID is a very popular program now, and Alterra Home Loans is one of the few companies that offers it. So a tax ID loan is a loan that's based on actual tax reportings from a tax ID. Someone in this situation doesn't have a permanent Social Security number, and it's very often to see that they work with a different Social Security number other than the tax ID. Under the program, that's okay, as long as they file their tax returns with the tax ID. So we would want to request their last 2 years W-2s and the last 2 years tax returns. Make sure that the income generated under W-2 matches the tax returns, and that's the income that's being reported to the IRS. Now, because this is a kind of a riskier loan, the down payments are higher, interest rate is higher, closing cost is higher, but it's an outlet for someone in this situation to be able to purchase.
If you don't have an option, at least it's good to know that at least you have one product to use.
Down payment normally, depending on the strength of the credit report and the credit scores, you can look at anything between 15% on a single family, 20%, or even 35% on a multifamily.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And just one last question. This is a company actually from California. So they want to know, do you consider vacation rental income when refinancing a mortgage?
Vacation rental income. Well, it's all going to depend on what's being reported on the tax return. If somebody is getting rental income on a vacation home, the only way for us to use it is if they are listing it on
as
their
income on the
Schedule
taxes.
E of their tax return, correct.
Because a lot of people will use that as a deduction, or they will claim that they're losing money every month.
Correct.
Therefore, you cannot use it as
Correct.
income because technically you're not making income on it.
Correct.
All right. So that kind of clears that out then.
I also wanted to point on your specific situation.
Yes, please.
As far as funds to close.
Hi. You're fine.
You're purchasing a 3-family home.
Right.
And FHA does require someone in your situation that's purchasing a 3-family home to have what's called reserves.
Oh, yes, we didn't talk about that. All right, yes,
So
absolutely.
you need to cover your down payment, your closing costs, if you are going to cover your closing costs, or if you, unless you negotiate that whoever you buy the home from gives you a seller credit to cover your closing costs. But the reason for the 3 months reserves is FHA figures that you may have some difficulty on a property where you may not be able to rent it right away. So in an effort so that you will not default on your loan, they want to see that you have the equivalent of your monthly payment 3 times in your bank account. So
So
that it,
2,500 times 3.
Times
I need
three.
to have 7,500 somewhere in an account.
in your account, and it has to be your own money. It cannot be a
Right.
gift. It cannot come from any other source. In the event, again, that if you don't find tenants right away, when you start making payments on your new loan, you're not going to default on it.
Well, that makes perfect sense. I mean, they're pre-approving you based on 2 rental incomes.
Correct.
Meaning that if that house was completely vacant, technically you can't afford it.
Correct.
So I guess that does make sense. Now, can that money be in like a brokerage account or
Yeah, that's-
or a 401k, or does it need to be liquid?
No, it can. Well, as long and if it's in the brokerage account and you have easy access to it, that's acceptable. Or it can be in your regular savings or checking.
Okay.
Okay. Now the other thing too, we didn't talk about, and I know this is a complete
No, you're fine,
different
you're fine.
different subject. If the property needed renovation, and you have to fix the property first before you can rent it, obviously then we were gonna want to see that those reserves are there, because you're not going to be able to get the rent until you
For
fix
a
those
few
apartments.
months.
Yeah.
Right. Depending on the size, how much work it is.
Correct.
All right.
And that only applies to 3-family or 4-family. If you're
Also
looking to
not a
purchase
2.
a 2 or 2 or single, it does not apply.
I guess that makes sense because it doesn't change your pre-approval that much, or your monthly payment, that is.
Correct.
All right. So anything else? Anything that we missed?
I think we covered a lot. I'm sorry that
we
we're
did.
rushing through
We're
it.
33 minutes in. I don't know how long
You're
it's gonna
gonna
be
edit
after
it.
we cut. Probably 5 minutes.
But if there's any other subjects that anybody's interested in, we could definitely do
I
a
would love
follow-up.
that. I
Yeah,
would love that.
And we can obviously do a Q&A and answer everybody's questions.
Maybe even go live once.
Hey.
Ooh, that's scary. All right. Well, so thank you so much for stopping in. So that's vlog number 3 then. On the 4th one, hopefully I have a signed contract.
Awesome.
And I'm going to talk about, how I came with the offer amount, the whole process of getting that contract signed. And then after that, it's going to be the inspection. So we'll
Perfect.
probably have
Looking
you
forward to
in
that. Yeah, absolutely.
later on to talk about the process of actually, getting that final approval and what went into that.
Absolutely.
All right?
And if
All right.
anyone is interested, ask Gus for my number. We'll be happy to help.
I'll put it down here somewhere.
Goose, I call you Gus, sorry.
Oh, whatever, man. It's fine. It's not like we did deals together. Don't worry
Gotcha.
about it. But all right, guys. Well, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for having us.